What's going on, guys? All right, we have an excellent show tonight. We have a brand new guest, first time on the show, coming on tonight to talk about some Week 6, so stay tuned.
Fantasy football, you dealing with the best. Keep it hype, authentic, just ain't nothing like the rest. With the Armchair Fantasy Show podcast, give advice for all the listeners to improve your stats. Yeah, we live on goingfor2.com. Tuesdays and Fridays, this is what you want. Talking dynasties and daily drafts, and we just getting started, that ain't even the half. Yeah, so go ahead, tell your friends to join. Going for 2, cause no one remembers the extra point. Hey, goingfor2.com, the Armchair Fantasy Show.
What's going on, guys? All right, welcome to episode 172 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I'm your host, of course, Jeff Lambert. You can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. We are here every Friday and Wednesday night on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch. Syndicated in all major podcast networks, and of course, streaming in the Going For 2 app for iOS and Android. I'm here as always with my co-host, Mr. Ryan Searfoss. Ryan, man, how you doing tonight?
Really good, man. Deal with a little bit of needy dogs you hear in the background. I think he wants water, so I'm going to say my hi, go grab some water, and I'll be right back.
All right, sounds good.
Glad to be here.
All right, also joining us tonight, as I mentioned, Scott Simpson of Nimble with Numbers. He's the co-host also of, what's the name of the podcast again? I'm sorry, Scott.
Yeah, it's the Fantasy Millionaires. It's on every Monday at 9:30 for about an hour until 10:30.
Good stuff. And you can follow him on Twitter at NimbleWNumbers. So, Scott, man, give us a little bit about yourself. Talk about your fantasy history, your website, your podcast, the whole nine.
I appreciate it. So, I have been a fantasy football player and a head and just a football fan for a long time. So I think this is my 15th year in fantasy football. I've been watching football since I was 5. I'm 41, and I've been in love with it ever since I was 5. So I'm a Washington, D.C. based guy. They won the Super Bowl when I was 4. They lost when I was 5. And so I kind of just started paying attention since then. My grandma was a Raiders fan, so she was really excited to kind of stick it to me when they beat the then Redskins, the now Washington football team. And so ever since then, I've just loved it. I'm an educator, and I had a position last year where I was evaluating teachers. I was writing, working 80 hours a week, and one Friday night in October, I just broke. I couldn't do it anymore. After working 80 hours, I sat down. I said, I'm going to write DFS. I bought a website. I started writing, and almost 5,000 followers later, I'm working hard at it. I love DFS, and I think I titled that "Chasing a Dream." Really, my dream is just to be able to do fantasy football every day, talk about it, be with people like yourself, Ryan. You guys are both in a fantasy football league that we started this year for local people, kind of in the Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, D.C. area. And so, this is my dream: is to be able to talk football on a Wednesday night with guys or girls, talking fantasy. It's my dream. So I'm living it right now. I'm really excited. I'm writing for Nimble W Numbers at NimbleWNumbers.com. And then I also have someone named Bo McBigtime who writes for me as well. He is awesome. He's an awesome writer. So check out both of us over at NimbleWNumbers.com.
Awesome. Good stuff. Just so y'all know, that for all everybody out there that's watching right now, if you want to chat with us, feel free to drop a line in the chat group there. We'll answer questions at the end of the show, but if you got a question, just drop it in there. I'll try to get to it at the end. Ryan, I wanted to ask you, we talked a little bit before the show. Where are you at with your pick'ems?
I am trailing you by 1 with 50.
Yes. So I think we had the exact same number again this past week. It was a shit show pretty much, because I think everything that we picked last week was close to the same picks, and then nothing went the way we thought it was going to go.
It was a rough week.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Just in general for fantasy.
Definitely was.
But yeah, we're tied, or we're almost tied again.
All right, yeah. Real quick before we get to the news and notes, I just wanted to plug one more time our other show. It's the War Room Show. It's basically live every night that we're not live. So it's live tomorrow night, Thursday night with Dan and Jay. They do a Thursday night sort of preview show, but it's normally before the game. Of course, there's no game tomorrow, but they still will have their show. So definitely check them out. It's live wherever you're watching us right now. Is where we're live at pretty much every night now. So definitely check that show out. All right, let's get to the news and notes.
News and notes from around the league.
All right, News and Notes is brought to you by Society Socks. Bold socks with a social cause. For every pair of socks you buy, a pair is given to charity. Visit mysocietysocks.com/armchair and use my promo code armchair. Get 50% off your first month subscription. All right, Ryan, I'm going to go to you first on this first note we have here. Lev Bell, of course, was released today. It's been, all over everywhere if you haven't heard yet. What are your thoughts on the release of Lev Bell, and then any idea of where he could land, where he can actually gain some fantasy value?
Dude, good for Lev Bell getting away from Adam Gase.
Yeah.
But you know what? He made $28 million in 18 games there, so he wins. I don't think with Le'Veon Bell, we're looking at Le'Veon Bell as a lead back workhorse role wherever he goes. I think he's going to be more of an auxiliary player in a mixed backfield in RBBC. So, like, teams like the Chiefs make sense where they've struggled running in the red zone. He can bring that into work with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Buffalo makes sense because we haven't really seen what we wanted to out of Zach Moss yet. And Singletary's not an every down guy, so that could pull it off him. I'm looking for him to go to a team that's a contender and has a couple questions in the backfield. I think those are two really positive landing spots.
I like it. What about you, Scott? What are your thoughts on Lev Bell?
One team that wasn't named, I think those are all really good landing spots, Ryan. I think what you're looking at is teams that want to kind of get that edge to win it all. That they need that push, or somebody who thinks that they can win it all, and then they're kind of at the top of the heap right now, and that's the Chicago Bears, who did lose Tariq Cohen. And I know they're not a real run-heavy team, but I would love to see him go out there to the Midwest and kind of get away from the Northeast area, get away from Pittsburgh, kind of just get away from this area and go see what he can do. David Montgomery, he hasn't been terrible, but they do need to change the pace. They need somebody who they can throw the ball to. And let's just say you feature Lev Bell half the time. I think you make your team better, and you give your team a chance to control the ball. And I don't think he'll be disgruntled. I think Adam Gase, you said it before, Adam Gase is terrible. Scott Barrett tweeted out a tweet today, and he just went through like every single player who he has been with and their percentage, their fantasy points with Adam Gase, and then once they've left. And I mean, Tannehill last night, he led the league last week with 30, and he was crushing it. Under Adam Gase, he looked like he was hapless, and so I agree with you guys. I think glad that he's gone, and we'll see where he goes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have Devontae Parker, Robbie Anderson's another one that was, not much under Adam Gase, is now crushing it this year.
Look at Tannehill.
Yeah, Tannehill, he's like a top 10 quarterback right now. It's crazy to look at that kind of stuff, and Adam Gase is just crushing careers. All right, sticking with the running backs, another note that was released today. Melvin Gordon today was issued a DUI. I didn't hear if he was arrested or not. I just know that he was issued a DUI. Ryan, what are your thoughts with Melvin Gordon, and what are you doing with that if you own him?
I heard he was going 39 over the speed limit, too.
Yikes.
Like, fly. Dude, he's an idiot. Like, I thought it was Philip Lindsay's backfield to begin with, but if he's suspended, they have to bring somebody else in, which could kind of end it for Gordon. I mean, he's fine as a running back, but they're not, like, if you're that borderline guy or you're in a committee and you're messing up like that, teams aren't going to have time for you. Running back's just not the position to do it. I don't feel good about anything with Melvin Gordon's future.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that as well. We talked a lot about in the offseason how we thought it was Philip Lindsay's backfield at Melvin Gordon. This is going to make, sort of a something to look at as a way for Lindsay to get back in there. Scott, what are your thoughts on that backfield right now?
So, I'm not a huge Royce Freeman fan. I don't like him as a running back, but I mean, if opportunity presents itself, I think what all of these situations have shown, whether it's injury or people being released or people getting DUIs, running backs, you need to have a contingency plan if your running back goes down. I think NFL teams think that way, and so I'm not a big Royce Freeman guy at all, but he's going to get some touches. And so if you're in a deeper league, a 16-team league, for sure, if he's not already rostered, he should be grabbed up. And I think like Brian said, Philip Lindsay just really does become a top 20 back possibly if he gets the volume here. He already was playing better before the injury. He already was in training camp and kind of as they moved through getting that 50-50 share as they talked about coming out. I'd like to see that, kind of actually happen before I believe it. That was kind of the word. But Melvin Gordon has played well too. So this is going to be a hard decision for John Elway. I think he has to come down hard. You can't do that. You can't do that. I tweeted out today, there's a free ride service that the NFL Players Association has created for the players. Anywhere, anytime, they can call a 1-800 number and get an Uber or something to their location. I mean, it sounds silly, and yeah, you don't want to have to go pick up your car, but this is insanity.
Yeah, I agree.
You're in jeopardizing people's lives, and then your team, you're being really selfish. And I'm guessing, somebody said something earlier, and I'm speculating too, but maybe you shouldn't be out drinking at that time, and maybe you're breaking COVID protocol. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that's not maybe you're at your house and you drove from your buddy's house. I don't know the whole story, but that's not a good look. You don't want to do that if you're Melvin Gordon. You just signed a huge deal there. That's terrible. So.
Yeah, yep. And I think we're going to the whole getting a ride thing. The fact that he was doing 40 over the speed limit, I imagine that was probably more what it was. He wanted to go out there and joyride, and obviously you can't joyride if you're in the back of an Uber. So, Ryan, you got something you want to say?
No, I'm just shaking my head.
Just shaking your head.
So dumb, man.
Yeah.
I was actually going to bring up the rideshare thing. So I saw your tweet and I forgot it was yours. But yeah, man, even if it's not, I can afford an Uber. I ain't rich.
Yeah.
Let's be real here.
Drink at your house. I mean, we saw, people drinking at their house, and it's okay. Even during COVID, Zeke Elliott was hammered on his computer in his basement, just talking shit. Do that. That's fine.
Exactly.
Don't go out.
All right, we got one more thing of note. Dwayne Haskins, of course, we know was demoted to third string last week, and the word is that they have gotten phone calls since then about the availability of Dwayne Haskins in a possible trade. Ryan, I know he was your boy, coming into the draft, and you loved him. I think he was your number one quarterback. Is there anywhere you'd want to see him go where you think he might have a chance to succeed eventually?
Man, it's hard because there's not... I think he needs to go somewhere he can sit, learn behind a vet.
What about right there where you're at?
Huh?
What about right there where you're at, right there in Pittsburgh?
I mean, their team, they protect him. They can put him behind that, and they let him pass or push the ball vertically, which he does well. So I like that. Tampa's a team that kind of makes sense there. Back up for Brady and kind of learn under him, especially in an offense where he's not used to it. But he got the raw end of the deal, man. Similar to Rosen. He's had no line. He's had one weapon on offense, and that's it. And they pulled him way quicker than we've seen a lot of guys pulled. And there's not a ton of jobs left, but him sitting for a little bit, he was a one-year starter in college. Sitting and learning is a good thing, especially when you've been beat up like he has. So I like to see him somewhere behind a guy who may be out in a year or two, even Indy. So they don't really have anything behind Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, somebody
he should be out in a quarter or two. Oh my goodness. Rivers. Sorry to barge in there.
No, you're fine.
If you're a DFS guy, ride whoever Rivers is playing against their D. He gave me a pick six last week. He's thrown, this is an outstanding stat, in the last season and the beginning of the season, 8 game-ending interceptions or interceptions in the fourth quarter when his team is trailing by a score and he's coming back. It's like a cash cow. So, I think he's great if you want to lose. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, Scott, I'm going to go to you on Haskins as well. We've got two possible locations in the chat they're talking about. So Sean on Twitter says the Cowboys, and then Miami Mike on YouTube actually is talking about him going to the Falcons. What are your thoughts on those two landing spots?
I think both of those make sense given what's happened. Maybe Dallas not as much. Arthur Blank coming out and saying that he would have to see what happens with Matt Ryan and kind of what would transpire with the new GM. Kind of that was what was implied there. That might be a place where he could kind of be there for a little while. Matt Ryan has a contract for this year and the next. There's a lot of guaranteed money, so maybe they're looking to go younger. I agree with Ryan and being in this area too. I think the general consensus, from kind of fans and then people, in the personality, the media businesses and stuff, is that this really he was never set up for success. I mean, yeah, he didn't have enough reps in college to kind of see his full potential, and he definitely didn't have enough reps for the Washington football team last year or this year, and the way that he was put in and handled, I think throughout, it wasn't professional. But what have you come to expect from this team? I think, and I think even with Ron Rivera, who is a professional, I think what you're seeing is when you do what you think is right, just individually, or you have a kind of oligarchy of groupthink in the Redskins' old organization previously, it stifles the growth of your team and your players, and it really ruins people who really have potential. I mean, Dwayne Haskins has potential. He has potential. He does. It's raw. It's really raw, but he doesn't need to be treated like this to be successful. That's for sure. So.
Yeah, I agree 100% with y'all. All right, let's get into these game previews.
This week's game-by-game previews.
All right, the way we do this every week is I assigned each Ryan and Scott a couple of the games individually, and then there's some of them that are going to be featured that we'll all kind of talk about. And just on a note, there's some teams on a bye this week, more than we've had. Last week we had the Seahawks, the Chargers, the Saints, and the Raiders on bye. So we got a lot of fantasy implications there. We've got, Russell Wilson, of course, is going to be out. You got Kamara, the number one running back right now, is going to be out. Josh Jacobs is not going to be there. So got a lot of things to look at this week. The first game on the docket is the Texans at the Titans. And Ryan, I'm going to go to you first.
What you gonna do? Buy or sell?
All right, so Brandon Cooks 2 weeks ago had a big fat 0, and then last week he had 30 plus. Are you buying or selling Brandon Cooks right now?
I mean, it's a home. It's Brandon Cooks is Brandon Cooks. Like, what? I don't know why we're acting like this is new with him, or he has games he disappears, then he has those 30-point fantasy games. He's a big play receiver. There's going to be games where he catches a lot of volume. And I assume he'll get better because he's getting more reps in that team. But he's a guy who's boomer busts. It's what he is. I can buy him for cheap. I'm doing it. But you don't try to buy him after a 30-point game.
Yeah. Are you selling if you have him?
If I could get a good price, but it would have to be... It's a hard guy to trade. If you're in Dynasty, you want someone younger. But, I don't know. He's somebody who's kind of hold.
Yeah.
Unless you get something outlandish for it, or you need a name and like an add-on for trade. He's not a main trade piece type guy.
Yeah, he's kind of I think this is the week you try to sell him and you give the Adam Gase sort of narrative with Bill O'Brien. His first game he gets fired, Brandon Cook blows up. Maybe this is a sign of things to come, and maybe you try to move him for a younger receiver that has more potential down the road. But I think if you're going to sell him, if you own him, now's the time to do it, because who knows, next week he could have 0 again. All right, going to you, Scott, for the other side of things. And we talked about it a little bit in the news and notes, but Mr. Ryan Tannehill, who's been pretty much killing it lately, he's a top 10 quarterback right now. I'm going to name a few quarterbacks that have been potentially good quarterbacks over the last few years. And you tell me who you would rather have, Tannehill or one of them rest of season. So first name on the list is Drew Brees. You want Brees or Tannehill rest of season?
Well, if you can guarantee me that Michael Thomas isn't going to punch out any more of his teammates and be suspended. By the way, how terrible are the Saints at handling in-house discipline that they had to suspend Michael Thomas outwardly? I mean, that's terrible. I'm sorry, Saints. You should have done that a lot more discreetly. Fined him $100,000 or whatever, and then said, hey, Malcolm Jenkins, shut your mouth.
Yeah.
That's what you should have said. That sounds offensive, by the way, Malcolm Jenkins. You're a player who is like a team, man of the year. What are you doing to your teammate there? It's not how it works, So, and then, honestly, I'm going to say Ryan Tannehill. And the reason is we're all waiting for Ryan Tannehill's game where he stops being successful. Stop waiting for it. That offense is designed to be successful. It's not just Ryan Tannehill. I think you're seeing an offense that has a stud running back that can bring down the safeties, that does command attention. And if you can play off of that with your tight end, who is very athletic in Jonnu Smith, and then you have his first game back, A.J. Brown establishes himself immediately. I know Corey Davis is out, but, he caught a touchdown on one of his first targets. He was all over the field catching slants, being bodied. He was back 100%. He looked great.
Yep.
I think he's going to sustain. I really do. And that division is one for the taking. So it's a slim margin with Drew Brees, but I do think Ryan Tannehill, I'm going to give him the edge in that one.
All right, another struggling quarterback, Matt Ryan. Or Tannehill, which one?
Well, I'm going to go Tannehill now because Matt Ryan is depletous. He doesn't have Julio Jones. It's just not fair. If he's got Julio Jones and Julio Jones is healthy, I'm going to go Matt Ryan. But this year, it looked great for the first couple of games, and then offensively wise and how they were functioning. But their defense is so terrible. It puts such a strain on the offense to keep up every series that I really don't like Matt Ryan this year, and I'm disappointed that I have been Scott Fish because I also have Jimmy Garoppolo. So,
Ouch.
It was great for the first week or two. I was ranked 115th, and my saving grace is I have Fitzmagic, so thank God I have him because it's just bad. So no, I'm going to go Tannehill again.
All right, guess two more names really quick: Carson Wentz or Jared Goff or Tannehill. Which of those?
I'm going to say Tannehill on all of these. And Jared Goff is the closest one, but it's game script dependent. And you saw against an okay Giants secondary. I mean, Bradbury's not terrible. They're not the worst. I mean, CeeDee Lamb makes everybody look bad, but they're not terrible. He just didn't get it done, and so I just don't trust him. Where I think Tannehill is going to be more consistent.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on all that. I actually think I'm taking Tannehill over Breeze, even with Michael Thomas. I just don't think he looks as good as he has in the past. And Tannehill, I own him in my Dynasty League, and I got him at the end of last year, and I've been riding him ever since. And it's like you said, we're all waiting for him to mess up, to turn back into a pumpkin, but he hasn't done that yet. So I think he's legit. So give me Tannehill for sure. All right, let's pick this game, Ryan. Texans at Titans. Who you got?
Man, it's really hard to pick against the Titans right now the way they're playing. And they're clicking on both sides of the ball. So I'm going to go Titans, even though I think it's going to be closer than expected.
Okay. What about you, Scott? Texans or Titans?
I'm going to go Titans as well. I just think that they are, as a team, they're galvanized. I mean, I don't know if they should be suspended forever or whatever people are saying and kind of being super angry at them. And I think there's just a lot of vitriol. But, I mean, they're at 28 implied points in this game. And so I do think that Vegas is on to them. And the line moved a little bit down. I think people kind of bet it down a little at the start. That's wrong. You saw what they did against the Bills defense, which was a top 10 defense, until they played the Titans last week. So I'm going to go Titans this week, and I do think they win by a touchdown. So
yep, I'm going to go Titans as well. So we're going to sweep it. All right, next game is the Ravens at the Eagles. It's a featured game, but we're not talking about the Ravens this week. We know Ravens are Ravens. Start all your studs. So we're going to give two questions to each of y'all. And Scott, I'm going to go to you first.
Breakout or fake out?
Breakout or fake out? Mr. Travis Fulgham, who had a humongous game out of nowhere last week. Are you buying this one?
With Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson coming back, I think the tendency would be to fade and to kind of go, no, I don't think it'll kind of sustain itself. But Doug Peterson, I'm not reporting this myself. This is John Clark from NBC Sports. He reported that Doug Peterson said it's a difficult thing. It's hard to say. We have to push someone aside. We have to select 4 or 5 guys that give us the best chance on game day, and he has showed that he can play at a high level. So, when the coach is saying that, he sounds like he's defending him almost against a reporter who's, kind of saying what's going to happen. I think he can stick. I think he's somebody, if your waiver wire got pushed to today, which mine did tonight, you get him. I wouldn't spend more than 20% of your fab on him. I don't think he's going to hit every single week, but I think he's going to stick around. I really do. I think he is shown his tenacity in going for footballs and mixing up. He's got nothing to lose, and those are kind of the scariest guys to play against. So I love it. I'm gonna not fade him. I'm gonna play him.
Yeah, I think I'm buying with you as well. He's definitely a breakout for me. I mean, you can't really. You have those guys that have like the 3 catches. They break one for long yardage, get that touchdown, and everybody's wanting to buy him. This guy had 13 targets. That is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, 10 receptions, 152 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, they were using him in every kind of scenario. So, yeah, I think I'm buying him for sure. Definitely a breakout for me. All right, Ryan, going back to you for the Eagles one more time.
Cut them or keep them.
One of the other pass catchers has been struggling so far this year. Cut them or keep them, Mr. Zach Ertz.
Keep it Zach Ertz. He kind of alluded before about D-Jax and Alshon coming back and that offense improving. we've seen targets for Ertz. He's had 7, 7, 10, 5, 6. Like, he's been targeted. It just hasn't been super efficient the last 2 weeks. But that's because it's a depleted offense. With those other guys back, he's not going to get as much attention. He'll see less double teams. It should be more quality looks for Ertz. And with the tight end landscape being a lot worse than we all expected this year, I'd be willing to bet on him than some of the other guys who may not have done it in the past with that offense getting healthier and improving.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think, Zach Ertz has been, pretty terrible lately. I mean, from especially where you drafted him. But if you have the ability to hold on to him, I think you can. Now, if there's somebody out there in the waiver wire, if you're in a shallow league, I think Zach Ertz is droppable. But if you're in a regular 12-team, 14-team size league, I think Zach Ertz is someone you still want to try to hang on to because he's shown in the past that he's a top flight tight end, and you don't want to give up on him just yet.
Yeah, I would even suggest if he has a good game this week, maybe trying to flip him, knowing that Dallas Goedert, will come back in a couple weeks potentially. And I think really Dallas Goedert showed, and I mean, coming out of college, I loved him, and I was so excited for him. And then when he got drafted by the Eagles, I was like, what? I was like, no, what are you doing? No. And so, the last 8 to 10 games, he's shown he's a tight end one on that team, and he really is. And so maybe get Ertz as fantasy football players go up and down every week. Bad matchup. Higbee, terrible last week. Gerald Everett, he balled out. So things change. If you can get Ertz and get some value, maybe trade him in the next couple weeks until that kind of situation figures itself out.
Yeah, I like that. All right, let's pick this game. I know Ryan's taking the Ravens. Are you taking the Ravens as well, Scott?
Yeah, Lamar hasn't played up to his level of last year, but they really still do have a good defense. And the Eagles' offensive line is hurting, and they haven't played well this year. Carson Wentz has not played well. He has more interceptions, 9 this season, than I think Aaron Rodgers has had in 3 seasons. So, it's not great for Carson Wentz. And I went on to a few Philly message boards incognito, of course.
Oh, why would you do that?
I know. And there's a lot of unrest there with Wentz particularly. And I don't know people don't know what's wrong, but there is something that is off. And I just don't trust them anymore.
Yeah. And I'm that Ravens D, so I play in a guillotine league, and the way those leagues work, you have 16 teams each week. The team with the lowest score gets eliminated. All their players go to a waiver wire. So I'm looking at my team. My team is doing terrible. I'm like, what? Like, how am I 4th in scoring right now? What am I doing? I'm scrolling through my team. The Ravens defense got me 38 points. So, they're the reason I didn't get eliminated because I had Matt Ryan as my quarterback. I mean, I had nobody, but Ravens defense bailed me out. So thank God.
They cost me my win against in my home league, giving Joe Burrow a massive -4.
Ouch.
And I lost by 2 because of it.
Ouch. All right, let's go ahead and move to the next game here. Falcons at the Vikings, and this is going to be our prop bet of the week.
BUSR.com. Prop bet of the week.
All right, Ron, I'll go to you first. Mr. Alexander Madison. We still haven't gotten word if Dalvin Cook is officially out. I'm going to assume that he's going to be out. So Alexander Madison over under 100 yards rushing this week.
Yeah, I'm going to take the over on it. If you're looking at their offense, the Falcons' defense is hot garbage. Mm-hmm. But you're looking at a team, he has 44 carries as the backup already. So he's averaging 8.8 attempts a game. You're losing all of Dalvin's volume, and Cedric's going to go to him. So even just doubling his is going to put him around that area of the 100-yard mark, and he'll probably get more. I trust volume on this against a bad defense.
Yep, I think I'm with you as well. What about you, Scott? You got over-under Alexander Madison over 100 yards rushing. What you got?
So far the Falcons are giving up an average of about 110 yards per game. And so that kind of fits in that model, that range of outcomes that you kind of want to see. They've also given up 20 touchdowns. So, I definitely could see this game where Alexander Madison runs all over them. The Vikings are at home. No one likes to establish the run more than Mike Zimmer. Him and Evan Silva are arm wrestling at night. Who's establishing more of the run. So, yeah, I think he is going to get over it as well. And, the Falcons, man, I think Dan Quinn, I know he's going to be out at the end of the year. I wonder how much, rope Arthur Blank gives him this year, because if he goes up to the Vikings and just gets obliterated, I mean, that could be the end this weekend. Really, It could be.
Yep.
So.
All right, let's pick this game. Falcons at Vikings. Ryan, who you got?
I'm taking the Viking. No, I'm not sure I'm taking the Falcons. I feel like I know I had the Vikings in my head. I had a point for it, but I think everything new in Atlanta is going to help, kind of take some of that pressure off of them and get them to a better situation. And I know Madison's really good, but Dalvin, it's a whole different aspect to that offense that's struggling without his ability in the passing game, which we haven't really seen out of Madison yet. There's going to be a little bit off in their offense. And, I mean, neither team has a defense. So I'm going to go Falcons.
All right, Scott. Falcons at Vikings. Who you got?
I can't pick the Falcons, even though I picked them to win over 7 games this year for some crazy reason. At the beginning of the year when I went to my futures, I picked them, and I picked the Dallas Cowboys to win 10. Goodness gracious. Those were bad picks. But I did pick the Jets under 7. I don't know who put that. 7.5 was the over-under for the Jets. That was just like stealing money.
Yes, it was.
If Julio Jones plays, and I don't know what the indications are yet, if he's trending to playing. If he plays, I think the Falcons have a real chance to win the game. Gurley this year has found the end zone. He's been consistent. I don't think that the Vikings are a good defensive team. This could be a game that really does shoot out. Man, the Falcons' luck is so terrible, and their defense is so terrible. I don't have any faith in them, so I'm going to go the Vikings.
All right, and I laughed, Ryan, when you picked the Falcons or changed your pick, because I actually went with the Falcons as well, thinking you'd go Vikings. So I hope to gain a game on you there, but I think the Falcons finally get off the snide and get a victory here against the Vikings. They'll surprise a little bit. All right, next game is Browns at Steelers, and Scott, this is your game.
Breakout or fake out?
Breakout or fake out? The Monsters game that Mr. Chase Claypool had last week. What's your thoughts on Mr. Chase Claypool?
So, I mean, I think everybody is going to kind of consensus think that Chase Claypool is a breakout. And I'm not going to douse anybody's fire. If anything, I'm going to stoke it. I think what you're looking at is an offense that has produced top 20 wide receivers, 2 years ago with Antonio Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster. Juju is not the same receiver that he was before, just even in the offensive scheme. Maybe not as a player, he didn't regress, but how they're using him is just when you have Antonio Brown, that makes Juju Smith-Schuster so much more dangerous. And so Claypool is not Antonio Brown. He's something new and different, and he is scary in the secondary. He's taller than corners. He's bigger than safeties. So I am definitely going to buy him. I only have like $55 in my fab in my home league. I'm putting it all on him. My team is 4-1. I have a great team. I probably should try to get a running back, but I don't care. So maybe that's just me being emotional. He's not going to get 4 touchdowns every game. But he could get you 16, 17, 18 points a game on 2 catches and a touchdown and 50 yards. I mean, he can do this. I really do believe in him as a future dynasty player. I have him in a few leagues. I'm just so excited about it. So.
Nice. All right, breakout for Chase Claypool. Let's pick this game, Ryan. Browns at Steelers. Who you got?
I'm taking Cleveland.
Ooh.
Pittsburgh's game. I've got to watch a lot of Pittsburgh games being local, and they've kept every game way too close for comfort, and they've been bailed out by their offense, not their defense. But Cleveland's defense isn't that bad, and they have a lot of black. I can't see Pittsburgh going 5 in a row in division. Browns looked really good last week and clicking on all cylinders. And I don't know how Fulgham, who's nowhere near what OBJ or Landry is, shredded them.
Yeah.
Those wide receivers in Cleveland should have a field day, and I don't think Pittsburgh can stop them.
All right. Browns at Steelers. Scott, who you got?
I'm going to go Steelers, and I think the main reason is that they do have one of the top defenses from last year, so I can't totally abandon their defense. When the Keystone State gets together, I don't know how much they're not rivals. They don't see each other that often. I feel like this game will be a lower scoring game than last week for sure. I just don't see them losing. I see Big Ben being better than Baker Mayfield when it comes down to it. And so I think Pittsburgh wins in like a 21-17 or a 24-21 type game. Not a shoot, not a game that kind of goes all out, because Hayden's still there. They still have a good scheme. I don't know how Watt's doing. I don't know if he came back in the game. I saw him go out. I don't know if he's going to play this week, but I mean their defense does get after the quarterback, and Baker Mayfield does make bad decisions at times. So I'm going to lean Pittsburgh in this one.
Yeah, I'm going Pittsburgh as well for that just exact reason you just said, that Steelers, get to the quarterback pretty regularly, and Baker Mayfield makes some dumb choices sometimes when he's pressured. So I think that's going to be the difference in the game. He'll throw a costly pick, somewhere in the game there and cost him the game. So yeah, I'm going Steelers as well. Bengals at Colts, Ryan.
Cut them or keep them.
Cut them or keep them. Any of the Colts receivers right now?
Man, I don't really want any. T.Y. Hilton's just underperformed off of wherever you drafted him. If you view him as the wide receiver 4 and wide receiver 3 in your team, that's fine. Same with Zach Pascal, but outside of that, I don't want any of them on my team. Honestly, I'm not real stoked on having them either. I'd try to get rid of them if I could. They're just good enough not to cut. Oh, Pascal, I'd maybe okay, but I'm not going on my way again. If I can get rid of them for any value, I will.
All right, yeah, I think I'm with you as well, and we kind of talked about already Phillip Rivers and his struggles he's had. So, I just
can I throw Naheem Hines in with those receivers too? Like, just kind of move on.
Yeah, because he had that big week 1. Everybody's like, oh, Naheem Hines, and he hasn't done anything since then. All right, so let's pick this game. Bengals at the Colts. Scott, who you got?
I'm going to go Bengals. And I know the Colts defense has been strong, but their offense, I kind of crapped on Phillip Rivers earlier. I love Phillip Rivers, by the way. One of the best mic'd ups ever was this year for him. He is outstanding entertainment. He's smart. His trash talking is on point. He can't throw the football anymore. He's old.
Yeah.
He can't. And I just don't like him anymore. I don't like him. I didn't like him last year, and I feel like he's going to lose this game for them. He will. I think he will. So I'm going to go Bengals. By the way, I love Joe Burrow, and one thing I love about Joe Burrow, he knows his team isn't very good, and he gives it every single play.
Yeah.
And last week was terrible, and you knew it was going to be terrible, but he's going to come out again this week, and he's going to give it. So I love Joe Burrow. I think he kind of bounces back and maybe gets 2 touchdowns this week. And if they can hand the ball to Mixon and actually run the ball with him, I mean, maybe they can't, but man, try. Give Mixon the ball. He is your best offensive player. It's not even close right now. So we'll see if that happens.
All right. Ryan, Bengals at Colts. Who you got?
I want to pick the Bengals so bad just because I like Burrow and I really love what he's doing. But I think the Colts have a very good defense, and I think the Bengals kind of struggle at stopping the run. And Jonathan Taylor's just an absolute stud. And I think that team knows how to win with what they have. And the Bengals are still kind of finding that identity. And I agree they should give Joe Mixon the ball more. But I'm going Colts.
Yeah, I'm going Colts as well for those exact reasons. The Colts are going to run the ball. Bengals can't stop them. They're going to, hopefully we don't get 3 or 4 turnovers from Phillip Rivers. If they can just do that, they can beat this Bengals team, I think. But it will be a grinded out kind of game. They won't blow them out by any means. All right, Lions at Jags is the next one on the list.
It's time for this or that.
Usually on this or that, I pick 2 guys from the opposite teams and pick which one you want to start. I kind of switched up a little bit this week. This or that, which of these 2 players you think, Scott, will finish as a top 12, or has the best chance, I guess, to finish as a top 12 player at their position? Gardner Minshew or James Robinson?
Initially I would have leaned James Robinson. A couple weeks ago and last week even there was a stat that was being touted that James Robinson had 90% of his team's rushing attempts, and then 10% of his team's targets. So you're thinking like, whoa, that's great. And not that his upside's not going to be capped, but they are going to be losing so often. And you saw it last week where they didn't hand the ball off as much, and Chris Thompson was on the field for more snaps. His snap share went up. The previous game, he had 16 snaps in week 4. Week 5, he had 30 snaps.
Wow.
And so it pivots. It goes down. And I think the Jags are going to be struggling this year. And that kind of puts the ball in Gardner Minshew's hands. And you know what? he's been great. All his stat lines are like 22 of 28 for 2 touchdowns, no picks, or maybe he gets 1 pick, but he hasn't fumbled a bunch this year. That was kind of something that developed in the middle of the year last year when he had kind of done a good run after 4 or 5 games. He started losing the ball and turning it over. He hasn't really done that this year. So I'm going to go Gardner Minshew and kind of, not an upset, but I think James Robinson it appears to be the low-hanging fruit, but I think the game script will lean more Gardner in the end.
All right, I like it. Let's pick this game, Ryan. Who you got? Lions at Jags.
I'm gonna take the Jags. Both teams are kind of bad on defense, and actually, I think it should be a pretty fun game, surprisingly. But I like this young team, and I like that they just go hard every time. And the Lions are a team you can beat doing that with not having a ton of talent. So I'm gonna go Jags on this one.
All right, Scott, who you got?
I'm going to agree with Ryan. I'm going to go Jags. They're at home. I do think in this new world we live in, when you have to travel, and traveling sucks. Let's just be honest. I mean, when you get to the vacation, you're like, yeah, it's time to go. But getting there sucks. And getting there, going somewhere to go play men, to hit them and hurt them, and I mean, you got to get up for it. It just takes resolve. And so I think all of that gives the edge to the Jags. They're at home. And they do have a little bit of advantage. Florida is the least restricted and the most infected.
Yeah.
So there will be people there cheering and having a great time and drinking Miller Lights and spreading their joy. So I kind of do lean the Jags. I could see the Jags winning 35-21 or something. And I'm sure they'll give up a touchdown in the end. It'll be one of those games where it's 38-35. I think this is a great game to play in DFS, by the way. But yeah, I lean the Jags in this one. In a fun one. I think Ryan's right. This looks like it sucks, but this could be fun. This could be a real fun game.
I agree. I think this will be a fun game for sure. I think this is a good game to stack for DFS. All right, we usually take a commercial break at this point, but we're running behind the clock, so we're going to skip the commercial break tonight and go right into our next game, Bears at the Panthers. It's a featured game, but I'm going to ask both of y'all the same question. If I can find my drop. There we go.
It's now time for Keep, Cut, Trade.
All right, Keep, Cut, Trade. This is from a dynasty perspective. I got 3 receivers here. Anthony Miller, Darnell Mooney from the Bears, and Curtis Samuel. Ryan, I'm going to go to you first. You got to keep one, you got to cut one, and you got to trade one.
This one's gross. But I'm going to cut Curtis Samuel. I think the name value's down. I think he's underperformed. He's 4th in the possible targets on that passing offense. He's kind of down the water towards me. I'm trading Darnell Mooney. He has these big games, and he's starting to get that name recognition a lot. He's had some big plays. It's inconsistent performance, but when it does, it really pops. So I think people like that. Gives you more of a trade value on him. Anthony Miller's disappointed a lot this year, but he's played a specific role. He's in the slot. So game plan in matchups, you can kind of pick and choose what games would be his. It predicted a little bit better than the other two. So I'd rather have that on my team for somebody I could play if I need to.
All right. So what about you, Scott? Same thing? You got a different way of looking at it?
I was thinking about it, and I didn't disagree with him. But then I just started to think about what I've seen from each of these players, and I like Curtis Samuel. I think he's a good player, but I do think you keep Anthony Miller. I think you do keep him. I think you do. But I don't think you cut Curtis Samuel. I think you could cut Darnell Mooney because particularly in Dynasty, I want more consistency. I know Curtis Samuel hasn't been as consistent. He's in a new offense. Darnell Mooney, I don't know. I'm not buying into him just yet. I think that offense is terrible too, and as long as he's there, I'm not going to put a lot of consistency in playing him. You're going to feel good playing him each week? I'm not. I mean, I feel like he's a DFS long shot more than he is a dynasty, flex play. So.
All right. I'm going to go a little bit different than y'all. I'm going to be cutting Curtis Samuel. Kind of like Ryan said, I think he's 4th in the targets in there. I'm actually going to be trying to trade Anthony Miller. I think he has the most perceived value. But when you actually look at the snap share, Mooney's getting more snaps than Miller, and he has pretty much most of the season. So he's the next receiver there. Miller's had some issues with some dropped a touchdown, I think, in week 2. And I just think that Mooney has the better upside for Dynasty. I don't think you can start him this year, But I think if you sit on him and hopefully they get some change in the regime there, get a better quarterback in there, maybe Mooney has some value down the road that I want to capitalize on. So give me Mooney for the long term. All right, Kyle on Facebook told me that I didn't pick that last game, so let me go ahead and pick that. I'm taking the Jags as well. I think that they're just a better team overall. Lions just find a way to lose every week, it seems. So let's pick this game now. Bears at Panthers. Ryan, who you got?
Bears. I think it's just a better all-around team. Short's going to be out now for the Panthers as well, adding more injuries, which opens up the middle of the defense, leaving for a nice David Montgomery game. And the offense works best when they can actually run because their quarterback plays atrocious. But their defense is good. They're just a better all-around team.
All right, so you got Bears at Panthers, Scott.
You know, I'm gonna go with the home. I'm gonna go with the home favorite, the Panthers, because the Bears are underdogs. You know, I mean, so you're picking the upset, which is I like it. You're going out there a little bit. I like what I've seen from Teddy Bridgewater so far, and he has shown consistently that he can move the ball down the field, and he has a bunch of different options to go to. You know, he's not targeting anybody in the tight end game, so you know he's going to go to Mike Davis or Robbie Anderson, and now finally he's putting DJ Moore back in the shuffle. So maybe this week he can include Curtis Samuel, and they can kind of just be versatile and kind of how they should have been with Christian McCaffrey. So I really do think the Panthers are going to win this game, maybe by 2 or 3, not blow them out or anything, but it's going to be a really close game for sure. One of those 21-20 games. But I just see the Panthers pulling it out in the end. I like Teddy Bridgewater more than I like the other quarterbacks. Trubisky's terrible, and Foles, I mean, he's not playing Tom Brady, and he's just not that great.
Yeah,
so
good stuff. So I too am going with the Panthers. I think the Bears are kind of the Ryan Tannehill of teams right now. We're all waiting for them to turn back into a pumpkin, but they just keep winning games. I think this is the game they turn back into a pumpkin. They go back to being the Bears, and I think Panthers have been playing very well. They got Mike Davis back there doing Christian McCaffrey things. They almost forgot they had Christian McCaffrey. He's been playing so well. So yeah, I think.
Don't say that. That's just disrespectful, man.
I mean, he's getting the same usage. He's putting up monster numbers right now, so you can't deny how well he's playing. But yeah, it's the Panthers for me. Next game, we got the Washington football team at the Giants, and I had nothing really to talk about with this game, so we're just going to pick it. So, Scott, we'll go to you first. Pick this game, the football team or the Giants?
I'm going to go with the football team because Daniel Jones is just so terrible. And I think the pass rush can get to him. And it's going to be I don't want to watch this game. And I'm excited because I watch Red Zone on Sunday. This game will not come on the Red Zone very often. It might come on for a flash of a defensive touchdown or a pick six or a couple. It's going to be gross. And so I just think the Washington football team has a better defense overall. But I'm not confident in them. If Alex Smith is in the game again, it's going to be terrible. I'm so glad he got in. Good for him. But he had 1.58 fantasy points. He was in for like a whole half.
Yeah.
I'm trying to wrap my mind around how many 1-yard throws he had or how many times he was sacked.
Makes you miss Rex Grossman.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. John Beck. I was at the 49ers versus the Redskins at the time. John Beck game where he threw for 7 for 21 or something. It was an S show, we'll say. So no, I don't like this game. If Kyle Allen is out and he gets hurt at any time, then it's over. But ugh.
All right, Ryan, who you got? Football team or the Giants?
Football teams for the same reason. Giants are just bad.
All right, yeah, I think I'm going with the football team as well. Hopefully none of my friends that live in this area are listening to me because they know I hate on the Redskins or the football team. Sorry, I did it again. I can't get it out of my mouth. All right, we're running against the clock here, guys, so let's do some quick fire here. Broncos at Patriots. Ryan, Drew Lock's outlook rest of the season. What are you doing with Drew Lock?
I like Drew Lock the rest of the season. I know he lost Sutton and fans a little bit beat up, but he's still coming back. Jerry Jeudy showed to be good. He can play. He has our Hamler there who has some speed. I like what they're doing. They have just Phillip Lindsay now running back, which he's more of the pass-catching back. It looks in their defense to struggle. So it looks like he's going to have to throw the ball. and he's a hell of a lot better than Rippon and whoever else they're putting in, and Driscoll. So I like him there with those weapons. I think he can come back and be kind of a value play for people.
All right.
I would say his points per games will end up top 12.
Oh, wow. Okay. I like it. All right, Scott, on the other side of things, the Patriots.
It's time for this or that.
So when Sony Michel comes back, which running back do you want, Damian Harris, or do you want to go back to Sony Michel? I know we don't really want any Patriots running backs, period, but if you had to choose one of those two guys, which one is it?
I think it's Harris, and because Michelle has not shown that he can stay healthy. I mean, he's out right now, and his knee has been injured. He's had leg issues. I don't like Sony Michel. He gets hit in the backfield. He gets tackled. He's got no juke. He needs a wide open lane to go through. Where I think Harris is younger. He's got more wiggle. He's also got more just power behind him as he runs. So I'm gonna go Harris, I fade Michelle in all formats.
All right. And so we can speed this up a little bit. Just give me your pick. Broncos at Patriots, Ryan.
Patriots.
Scott?
Patriots as well.
All right, also going Patriots. The next game, Jets at Dolphins. Another one of those games that it's not going to be on Red Zone very often, I don't believe. We're just going to pick this one as well. Just give me your pick. Jets at Dolphins, Ryan.
Dolphins.
Scott?
Dolphins as well. Yeah, I think they can get it done. The Jets are just so god-awful.
Yeah, the Jets are making me look pretty smart. I put $50 on them to finish with the worst record in the NFL this year. If they do it, it's a nice chunk of money that I'll win. So I hope the Jets go 0-16 this year. I need the Giants to win one, though, because they're the other team that's pretty terrible right now. All right, next game is the Packers at the Bucks, and this is a featured game. Ryan, I'm going to go to you first. Assuming that Devontae Adams is back, is there a pass catcher in this offense that you want, i.e. MVS or the tight end Robert Tonyan? Anyone you feel comfortable starting this week?
Honestly, no. I know Tonyan is awesome story. He looked really good, had the siege game. But when Devontae Adams is out there, Aaron Rodgers now has eyes for him, man. These guys aren't great. Tonyan's a sell for me if I have him in fantasy. And it's Adams and Aaron Jones are going to be his pass catchers. Everyone else is just going to be spread out and whoever's open. So there's no one I trust.
I'm with you as well. I think Tonyan will be started in a lot of leagues, probably played in a lot of DFS because last time we saw him he had 3 touchdowns. But I think those passes go to Devontae Adams this week. So I'm going to be fading those guys. All right, Scott, on the other side of things.
It's time for this or that.
This or that, the 2 tight ends from Tampa Bay rest of season. Who do you want, Cameron Brate or do you want Rob Gronkowski right now?
Yeah, I'm going to go Gronk just because of his familiarity with Brady. I think Brate stepped up last week and he outscored him by about a point. And so it's going to be back and forth. They're both going to be on the field. And so I think they're both going to be viable. And if Brate's not gone off your waiver wire, maybe pick him up tonight. He is somebody worth getting. But I'm going to go Gronk just because I think he's got more touchdown potential with Brady in the red zone. They have that rapport. If he can stay healthy, he's not just a blocking tight end. So
yeah, I think I'm with you as well. I think that touchdown upside is there. Gronk is still a big man, even though he's quite a bit slimmed down since his playing years before with the Patriots. But I do think Gronk is the better play there the rest of the season. All right, pick this game real quick, Ryan. Packers at Bucks. Who you got?
Packers.
All right, and Scott?
Yeah, I'm going to go Packers as well. Aaron Rodgers looks in fuego.
Yep, I'm with you. Packers as well for me, so sweep it. Next game is the Rams at the 49ers. And Scott, the question I have for you is McVay stated after this last game that he wanted to get Cam Akers some more work. Are you buying it? Are you able to, possibly think about starting him, putting him in your flex? Are you buying that talk, or is it just coach speak?
Yeah, I think I am buying it because he started off the season. He had 24 snaps in his first game, and next game he had 3. So he kind of got, I don't know when he got hurt necessarily, but he was out 2 games. And last game he had 13. So I do believe the coach. I think they saw potential in him. He had a real big run on one play that he looked really good on, and so I don't think that I can start any of these guys and feel that comfortable. I think that's the problem, is that I have Cam Akers in some of my deeper leagues, and it's just I cringe. If he doesn't get a touchdown, I'm probably not going to be successful in that role. So I'm going to hold him for sure. I'm not getting rid of him. He's on my team. But sad to say, I need an injury. I mean, that's what we kind of need in football. You need an opportunity share to increase for everybody by somebody going down, unfortunately. But I don't hope it on anyone, but it does happen. So.
Yeah, I actually have to start Cam Akers in my main dynasty league because I have Christian McCaffrey who's out, Nick Chubb who's out, Keenan Allen who's on a bye. He also was hurt, and then I got as a fourth player that I have that's out as well. I can't think of who it is right now. So Cam Akers is going to be in my starting lineup this week, which is it's Kamara. I got Kamara as well. He's also on a bye. So Cam Akers is in my lineup this week. It's going to be a bad week for me. All right, let's go pick this game. Rams at 49ers. Ryan, who you got?
Catching up a game, baby. Give me the Rams.
All right, Scott, who you got? Rams at 49ers.
I'm going to go Rams, too. I mean, I think Jimmy Garoppolo, they pulled him for safety reasons. Like, oh, my gosh. That was just embarrassing. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going Rams.
Hey, Ryan, so my loyalty does not cloud my judgment here. I, too, am going the Rams. Even though I'm a Niners fan, I got to go with, the team I think is going to win. I would love to see my Niners pull this one off, but I don't see it. I actually looked at the schedule. Our schedule is terrible. The one game I think we can win this season is against the Washington football team, but we got the Saints, we got the Packers, we got the Patriots. I mean, it's like it's brutal. And, of course, in our division, we got our division teams as well. The Seahawks are really good, the Rams. So it's going to be a rough year for us, I think. So, yeah, give me the Rams in this game.
Cardinals, too. Oh.
Yeah, Cardinals. It's rough. I mean, it's rough. It really is.
Might not win 6, man.
Yeah, we can go 3-13. I wouldn't be surprised the way it looks in our schedule right now. All right, next game is the Chiefs at the Bills. And, Scott, I'm going to go to you. I just wrote down one name. I want you to just talk about Josh Allen and what you think of Josh Allen.
So, I have – so last year I put money on Josh Allen and the Bills in the game against the Houston Texans. And then I watched him, run in the middle of the field and, throw the football out of his hand. He just ran and was like, hey, guys, want a free football? And I was like, what the hell? The money is just, flying away right now. And I was very distraught at that because it kind of reminded me of, when your little brother gets in the game and you're like, don't get up, man. Don't you? I'm going to give you the ball. And then they get there, they're doing great, and they're looking great, and then they blow it. And so his blow it factor this year has been reduced. You can see, he's matured, but he still had some blow it factor in the last game. The first pick he threw, it kind of tilted the game in their detriment. And so I think he is a much better quarterback than he was last year and the first year. And I love him going forward in Dynasty. I drafted him on a lot of teams, but I think he showed his upside. It's not going to be every week. It's not going to be every week he gets you 30, 32 points. And so I think going forward, his rushing floor is going to be there. He's going to rush for touchdowns. That's what he does. I mean, they don't give Devin Singletary the ball. He's so fast. He can roll out and hit somebody on a waggle or a boot, or he can go in the end zone. So I do still think he has the potential to be really successful.
All right, I love it. Let's pick this game. Chiefs at Bills, Ryan. This is a tough one to pick, I think. Chiefs at Bills. Who you got, Ryan?
It is a tough one, but I'm going the Chiefs. They still have the best player in the NFL right now. All
right, Chiefs at Bills. Scott?
Yeah, I'm going to go Chiefs. I know they didn't look great last week. I think they bounce back, and that offense is sick. So
yeah, I agree. Unreal. I think if the Chiefs had won last week, I might take the Bills this week. But the fact that they lost, it's going to be ugly for the Bills. They're going to just come out and light them up.
Yeah.
All right, last game on the docket. It's a featured game. Cardinals at Cowboys. And Ryan, I'm going to go to you on the Dallas side of things. Rest of season outlook for the weapons there with Andy Dalton. So just kind of an overview of, Cooper and Gallup and even down to Ezekiel Elliott.
It's going to kind of sound bad to say, but I don't really see it going that much worse for them. I mean, they're all really good weapons. We don't know which one Dalton's going to go to, even though he seemed to really like CeeDee Lamb. But I don't think a ton changes. That team's going to have to throw the ball a lot. I mean, they were the only team to start out, 0-4 and have average 33 points a game. It's absurd. They have to throw the ball. They're going to have to do it a lot. So I still feel good about all their weapons and Zeke as well, because you're just going to see a steady dose of him. I don't think much changes other than maybe your volatility on Gallup and some of the other guys, maybe a little bit. But they still have really high potential with Dalton. He's not that bad.
All right, I love it. I love it. Scott, on the Cardinal side of things.
It's time for this or that.
This or that. Kenyon Drake versus his teammate Chase Edmonds rest of the season. Which one of these guys do you want?
Just the way they've been running, I want Chase Edmonds in fantasy particularly. Because I think you can get him. I think he's cheaper, and the draft capital that you kind of went for either one of them probably was much better in your favor. You had to get Drake in the end of the first or middle of the second. I didn't see him move past the third in really any of the drafts I was in. So, the snap share last week increased, and decreased for Drake and increased for Chase Edmonds. He's at 34, and Edmonds Drake was at 50, and then Edmonds was at 34. So he's creeping up on him. And that touchdown run, he just looked better. He has better vision. When you saw the field, just looks better. And I don't know what it is, but the best running back on that team, it really is Kyler Murray. Let's just be honest. I mean, we were talking about it on our show, or talking about what we're going to talk about on our show, Mike, my co-host and I on the Fantasy Millionaires next week. We think collectively that Kyler Murray is a better rushing quarterback right now than Lamar Jackson. Just the way that he in space can kind of just get people to bite on little hip fakes and foot fakes and stuff. Man, he is on another level. He's so fast, and he doesn't get hit. So I do see both of those guys kind of being limited by Murray in the long run touchdown potential. But Chase Edmonds overall, I think, is my guy going forward.
All right, yeah, I think I'm with you because Kenyon Drake, you did draft him pretty high, so you're probably still going to have to hold on to him. But if you were lucky enough to handcuff him with Chase Edmonds, I think you should be good with those two guys. But like you said, the same kind of thing with Josh Allen a little bit, where he kind of they take away from their running backs, and I think you're right with Kyler Murray, the same thing. All right, let's do some listener questions. We're gonna have to do these. What was that? Oh, pick. Sorry, Cardinals at Cowboys. Ryan, who you got?
I'm blaming 2020 for my pick. No real football reasons. I picked the Cowboys just because that's the kind of thing that's gonna happen for controversy. Is their fans are gonna lose their freaking minds and he don't have a big game and calling for Dak's head somehow. And it's just the way this year's gone. Weird things like that's ever happened.
All right, I like it. Scott, who you got? Cardinals at Cowboys.
Yeah, I feel like he just gave you a free square.
I did. I feel like I did too.
Yeah, I feel like when you're playing like tic-tac-toe and someone's like, you can go first, you're like, oh man, really? Oh, come on. But yeah, I'm gonna go the Cardinals. I just think it's because they're right now they're a really hard offense to stop, and no one's stopped Kyler Murray yet. And I don't think the Cowboys are stopping anybody.
Yeah.
No, there's gonna be a lot of points scored.
Yes.
He is just, I like him a lot. Anyway. So.
Yeah, I wish this game was on the main slate for DFS because this would be a game that I'd love to stack. But I'm taking the Cardinals as well for all the reasons that Scott just mentioned. This offense looks pretty good. Kyler Murray's looking, awesome. He's running the ball as well. Cowboys can't stop anybody. So yes, give me the Cardinals. All right, listener questions. You can always send your questions to me through my DMs on Twitter or Facebook, or you can go to goingfor2.com/ask. And just ask your questions there. We'll get to as many as we can on the show. We'll do these just one at a time, one for each of y'all so we can get through all of them. And the first one here is from Heather Gannon. Ryan, I'll go to you first. She wants to know if she should drop Matt Ryan for Big Ben, Ryan Tannehill, or Andy Dalton. What are your thoughts?
I kind of like what Scott said earlier about everything with Tannehill. I think he's playing really, really good football. They're clicking as a team. They have a good matchup coming up. I like Tannehill there. I think he's the most trustworthy of the group.
All right. From Twitter, at Maygirl557, ask us, Scott. She wants to know, she needs two of these guys, Madison, Juju, Robert Woods, or Hollywood Brown. Which two of those do you want?
For this week, I'm going to start Madison. I think he has a chance to get 2 touchdowns, maybe one on the ground, one in the air. I know that Ryan talked a little bit about his passing potential. It hasn't been there. I don't think that role has been there for they have to scheme it. They have to scheme it. That's what they have to. It doesn't happen. Like there's games where quarterbacks just drop back and they throw the ball to their running back. That doesn't happen. Kirk Cousins doesn't do that. They have to actually plan it. I do think it happens. So I'm going to go Madison, and then it's hard to go against Woods. Woods is a baller. I see him running away from everybody. His routes are crisp and clean. So I'm going to go Woods and Madison in that one.
All right, yeah, I think I'm with you as well because volume. We saw what Juju's kind of faded off a little bit. He hasn't been as good as I thought he would be coming into the season. Hollywood Brown's good if you're playing against a team that you think you're going to lose to, and you need that upside, maybe Hollywood Brown, you put him in there, but I do think it's Woods and Madison for me that are the safer bet. At Jason Quinn at 1992 asks us, is it okay to drop Mark Ingram or DeAndre Swift for Madison, Lindsey, or Pollard? So it's kind of a loaded question there, Ryan. He's got Ingram and Swift. He's looking at Madison, Lindsey, and Pollard on the waiver wire. Which one of those guys do you prefer?
Weirdly enough, I'd drop both of them for Madison and Lindsey right now. I think those guys have clear paths in their offenses. I hate saying that about Ingram, being he was the dude there last year, but they're really spreading the ball around, giving Gus Edwards the ball. Hopefully going to give Dobbins more touches here soon. So his role is kind of getting less. He's not seeing the volume. Swift has a receiving back role, but it's still a jam-packed running back room. Madison can give you RB1 potential while Cook's out right now, and he's a top-tier handcuff after. And Lindsey's really it in that backfield at the moment, so I think he's the safest out of all of them long-term. So I'd rather take those two than the ones you have.
Yeah, I think Madison definitely is a no-brainer for me. Lindsey's a little bit more iffy, but I think, like you mentioned, Mark Ingram hasn't done much this year so far. Swift, until they get a coaching change, I don't know if he's going to be anything either. But so yeah, Madison, Lindsey for me. All right, it's time for our Forgotten Fantasy Player.
Get ready for GoingFor2.com's Forgotten Fantasy Player of the Week.
All right, Scott, who is your Forgotten Fantasy Player this week?
All right, so we wanted to talk about stories, and I thought the best fantasy story I had involved Marion Barber. Now, Marion Barber is tied to, in this story, Terrell Owens, or Terrell Owens. I want to make sure I say it right. And so one year, I had Terrell Owens, and I got to the quarterfinals, a game to get to the championship game. I don't know, whatever it is. There's 4 teams left. Quarterfinals. So we're in the quarterfinals, and I have Marion Barber, and my friend has Terrell Owens, and Marion Barber lays an egg. Terrell Owens, he crushes it. Okay. I learned my mistake. Next year, I get Terrell Owens. Marion Barber is fading at this time. Not as impactful as Terrell Owens is. There's a play in one game where Terrell Owens catches the ball. He runs like 80 yards. He gets tackled. It looks like it's at the 1, but no, he reaches in. He gets the touchdown. You can see it in the replay. The Cowboys are so good at this point. They don't care. They don't even review it. Like, they're just like, we'll run it in with Marion Barber. And then they give it to Marion Barber. I'm playing against Marion Barber in that game. It's like week 6 or 7, whatever. I have Terrell Owens. I don't get the touchdown. I get a huge score. I don't get the touchdown. I lose that game by 3 points because of that play.
Wow.
I lose the bye. I lose the bye that year. I have to fight in the first round, and I don't make it out of the first round. But my next 2 weeks after that, which I would have gotten the bye if that wouldn't have happened, I would have won the championship. I would crush both those weeks. My team was incredible. And, Marion Barber had nothing to do with it. It's not his fault. It was the refs. They didn't turn. The refs cost me a championship in fantasy football. But Marion Barber has always been somebody who, in that little stretch of season, he was relevant to me. And now, nobody cares.
Wow, that is an awesome story.
I love Marion Barber.
Yeah, and the fact that you remember it so vividly, we all know how much that must have really hurt.
I have no championships in my big money league. It's like I am the best player there by far every year. I do the most research. And my guys just drunk luck into just these like, I'm gonna get this guy. You're like, oh my god, and then I get defeated by some random thing like that. So, but this year I'm 4-1. I have CD Lamb. My team name is CDs TDs. And Ryan, nice. I'm going to go with you. I think that they don't miss a beat, and I think that they throw the ball over the middle a little bit more. And I think Gallup is a full fade, man. Gallup, he's on the edges. Guess what? Little Tiny Tim is not throwing it to the edges. He's going to throw it in the middle. So Schultz and I think CeeDee Lamb and Cooper, who can play and go anywhere, I think those guys are safe. And Gallup is just kind of trade bait or trash or whatever,
Don't tell me that. I just traded for Gallup in one of my leagues pre Dak Prescott injury, but I just got him in a big trade.
Well, I would love him pre-Dak. Oh, man, because Dak can get the ball downfield. I mean, that's the thing that is Michael Gallup's strength is that catch that he made. I mean, Dalton did give him the ball. That catch driving down at the end of the game, it was a great catch. That boundary catch against the Giants last week. I just don't see Dalton doing that anymore. Like, I think he's more of a safe guy now than he is a risk taker because he's a backup quarterback. He lost his job.
Yep.
So I just don't see him being as gun. Maybe he has to be, but I don't know. It's just I have Gallup too, by the way. I think I have him in our crab cake league. So
yeah.
I have him too. I'm disappointed. I'm not dropping him, but I can't trust him anymore.
All right, good stuff. All right, let's go around the room. Give us your Twitter handle. Plug your show one more time, Scott. So anything else you wanted to talk about? We'll go to you first, Scott.
Well, I got to say, I love both you guys. And thanks for jumping into the Crab Cake Invitational this year. I can't wait till we can get together, have beers, chill out. This whole thing is behind us, and we're just, rocking it out. So you can find me at NimbleWNumbers on Twitter, or at NimbleWNumbers on Twitter, and NimbleWNumbers.com. Also, the FantasyMillionaires.com, and at Fantasy or FF Millionaires on Twitter. There's not a length in Twitter. I can't go the Fantasy Millionaires. I had to go FF Millionaires. I couldn't even do the Fantasy, whatever. But I have a show this week with Kevin Tompkins coming up. Every week I have a show on Saturday night called the DFS Money Shot, and it's a head-to-head competition on DraftKings where I challenge somebody in the DFS world. I know, Jeff, you love DFS. I retweet your stuff. I read your stuff. I'd love eventually to have you on. I'm not going to make you make a commitment on the show, but you're officially invited, buddy, this year. I'd love to go head-to-head with you and have you on a Saturday night in the future. You're great. Ryan, you're awesome. You're always invited, too. I don't know if DFS is your whole thing, but, you're welcome as well, good sir. Thank you guys so much. You guys are the best.
All right, man. Yeah, definitely. I definitely would love to do that. Hopefully I can get a Saturday off. Unfortunately, I usually work on Saturdays, so... But if I can make that work in my schedule, I'd love to come on and challenge you head-to-head on a podcast. That'd be awesome.
I would work around your schedule, Fridays, Sundays, however you want to do it. I would, for you, definitely, sir.
All right, sounds good. We'll make that happen. Ryan, what you got?
Find me at Ryan Searfoss at Foss534 on Twitter. Find me here every Wednesday night, 9:30. Find me over at Dynasty Draft Room and our Dynasty episodes on Tuesday nights. Put out some articles for both coming up soon. But always here.
All right, good stuff. As always, guys, you can find me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. I will be here on Friday with Gerson and Tim doing our DFS show. Make sure to check out the War Room show tomorrow night, 7 p.m. right here on this channel. For Ryan, for Scott, I'm Jeff. We'll see y'all next week.